The attack started at 3:15. Rush hour, full bus, innocent passengers. Carl was approaching the last stop when a masked man boarded and pulled out a knife. "Everyone get your wallets out." He was 71. There were 40 passengers. Police would take 20 minutes to arrive. But Carl wasn't afraid. Because 30 years ago, he'd faced much more dangerous situations. In the Navy, Carl Williams had been driving the same bus route for 35 years. Route 47, downtown Central Station to Riverside suburbs, 18 stops, 45-minute journey. Every morning his shift started at 6:30, ending at 6:30 in the evening. Carl was 71 years old, silver gray hair, kind weathered face, always wearing a clean Metro Transit uniform. Passengers loved Carl. Punctual, courteous, safe driver. Never late, never rude, always helpful. "When you get on Carl's bus, you feel safe," said regular passenger Mrs. Chen. 35 years on the same route, never an accident. Route 47 served a diverse community. Downtown office workers, suburban families, elderly residents, college students. Carl treated everyone with equal respect. "Morning, Mrs. Patterson. How are the grandkids?" "Hey, Tommy, got your homework done?" "Good afternoon, Doctor." Martinez, long day at the hospital. Carl knew names, remembered stories, remembered birthdays. He was more like a community member than just a bus driver. Fellow drivers respected Carl. Most experienced, most reliable, never complained. He was a source of wisdom at union meetings, a mentor to new drivers. "Carl's old school," said dispatcher Mike. "Does the job right, treats people right, never causes problems." In Carl's locker, behind his uniform jacket, was a small framed photo. Navy ship, young sailor, EOD badge visible. Nobody had asked about that photo in 35 years. EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal, Bomb Squad, the most dangerous job in the military. Initial success or total failure. Success or death, no middle ground. But that life was in Carl's past. Now, he was just a bus driver. Thursday afternoon, 3 p.m. Carl was picking up his final passengers at the last downtown stop. Beginning of rush hour, bus near maximum capacity. 40 passengers, office workers heading home, high school students, elderly shoppers, a few tourists. Normal Thursday afternoon crowd. Carl scanned the passengers with an experienced eye, a habit from decades of driving. Watch for problems, potential issues, safety concerns. Everyone seemed normal. Business suits, reading phones, teenagers listening to music, elderly couple discussing grocery shopping. 3:05 p.m. Carl merged the bus into traffic, beginning the suburban route. Downtown skyscrapers falling behind, residential neighborhoods approaching. "Next stop, Fifth Avenue," Carl announced professionally. A few passengers prepared to exit. Routine afternoon run, nothing unusual. 3:10 p.m. Stopped at a traffic light. More passengers boarding. Carl greeted everyone politely, checked transfers, issued day passes. Last person boarding, tall man, dark hoodie, face partially concealed, cash in hand, but no eye contact. Carl noticed the unusual behavior, but passengers had a right to privacy. "Where to, sir?" "End of the line," the man muttered, paying exact fare. Carl nodded, issued a transfer. The man walked to the back of the bus, chose a seat near the emergency exit. Something felt off. Carl's instincts, honed by decades of public service and military training, said caution. 3:15 p.m. Bus approaching 10th Street stop. Carl checked mirrors, monitored passengers, maintained professional awareness. That's when the masked man stood up and pulled out a knife. "Everyone shut up and get your wallets out!" Chaos erupted. Passengers screaming, some trying to run, others freezing in terror. Children crying, elderly people panicking. Carl immediately assessed the situation. One armed attacker, large knife 40 innocent civilians in enclosed space. No escape routes except emergency exits, police response time, minimum 15 to 20 minutes, radio for help versus immediate action. I said wallets now, phones, jewelry, everything. The attacker was moving down the aisle, threatening passengers individually. Woman with baby crying, elderly man fumbling for his wallet, teenage girl hyperventilating. Carl had seconds to decide. Follow protocol. Stop bus, radio dispatch, wait for police, or take action to protect passengers. Military training kicked in. Threat assessment, civilian protection, tactical response. Carl quietly activated the emergency brake, set the parking lock. Bus stopped safely, but no sudden movements to alert the attacker. Driver, keep driving. Sir, Carl said calmly, turning in his seat, I need to follow traffic laws. Police will notice a stopped bus. Carl's voice carried authority that hadn't been heard since Iraq. Command presence, absolute control, zero fear. Just drive. The attacker was nervous, amateur, shaking hands, poor weapon discipline, no tactical awareness. Carl recognized the inexperience immediately. Professional assessment, single threat, manageable if handled correctly. Carl slowly stood up, hands visible. Sir, I'll drive. Just don't hurt the passengers. Get back in your seat. But Carl was already moving. 30 years of muscle memory, Navy EOD training, life or death decision-making. EOD taught precision under pressure. Bomb disposal required steady hands, calm mind, perfect timing. One mistake meant death, for yourself and everyone around. This wasn't bomb disposal, but the principles were the same. Assess threat, minimize risk, protect innocence, execute with precision. Carl advanced slowly down the aisle. Stay back, old man. The attacker waved the knife wildly, but Carl read the body language. Fear, desperation, lack of training, not a professional threat. Son, Carl said, his voice carrying decades of command authority, you don't want to hurt these people. I'll hurt whoever I want. Carl continued his advance. Tactical spacing, hands ready, passengers clearing the aisle, children being protected, elderly helped to safety. What's your name, son? Shut up. I'm Carl. Been driving this route 35 years. These aren't strangers to me. They're family. Psychological approach. Establish connection. Humanize the situation. De-escalate if possible. Mrs. Patterson there. Brings cookies every Christmas. Tommy in seat 12. Straight A student. Dreams of being a doctor. Maria with the baby. Works 2 jobs to support her family. Carl's voice was steady, reassuring, not just to the attacker, but to the frightened passengers. You don't want to hurt family, do you? I need money. I'm desperate. The real issue was emerging. Desperation, not malice. Carl's experience with people, understanding human nature. Son, there are other ways. We can help you. No one helps. No one cares. The attacker was emotional now. Knife still dangerous, but less controlled. Carl was closing distance, within tactical range. I care. These people care. But first, you need to put down the knife. No! Everyone stays back! Carl made his decision. EOD principle. Sometimes the only way to save lives is direct action. Carl moved with precision, learned in the Navy. Not violence, control. Pressure point on the wrist, knife disarmed in 2 seconds, attacker safely restrained. Easy, son. It's over. Nobody's hurt. Passengers stared in amazement. The elderly bus driver had just handled an armed threat like a trained professional. Carl helped the attacker to a seat, checked for injuries. You okay? Need medical attention? Even showing compassion to the person who'd threatened his passengers. Police arrived 12 minutes later. Found the situation completely controlled. Attacker safely restrained, weapon secured, passengers calm. Sir, what happened here? Sergeant Lopez asked Carl. Young man was having a crisis. Pulled a knife, threatened passengers. I disarmed him safely. How did a 71-year-old bus driver disarm an armed attacker? Carl looked uncomfortable. Experience. What kind of experience? Military service. Sergeant Lopez examined the restraint technique, weapon handling, tactical positioning. What branch? Navy. What rate? Carl hesitated. EOD. Lopez's eyes widened. Explosive Ordnance Disposal? Bomb squad? Yes, sir. Long time ago. The paramedic, treating minor cuts on Carl's hands, noticed a tattoo. Navy EOD badge. Motto, initial success or total failure. Sir, this tattoo? You're really bomb disposal. Carl nodded quietly. My dad was Navy. Says EOD guys are the craziest brave people in the service. Passengers were gathering around Carl, expressing gratitude, amazement. Carl, Mrs. Patterson said with tears, I had no idea you were a military hero. Not a hero, Mrs. Patterson, just a bus driver who happened to serve. But you saved all of us. Just did my job. Keep passengers safe. But phones were recording, social media posting. Bus driver disarms attacker using military training. Local news was arriving, wanting interviews. Carl deflected attention. The young man needs help, not punishment. The system failed him. We should focus on that. By evening, Carl's story was citywide news. Video clips from passenger phones, interviews with witnesses, veteran organizations reaching out. Navy EOD veteran protects bus passengers, from bomb disposal to public transit. Hidden hero drives city streets for 35 years. Carl tried maintaining his normal routine, but passengers now looked at him differently. Thank you for your service. Can my son meet you? He's thinking about the military. You're a local hero. Carl appreciated the respect, but felt uncomfortable with celebrity. The next morning, an unexpected visitor waited at the bus depot. Retired Navy Captain Michael Torres, 58, had seen the news coverage. Petty Officer Williams? Carl looked up from his pre-trip inspection. Yes, sir? Captain Torres, retired. Wanted to meet the EOD sailor who's been serving the community. Torres saluted Carl. Outstanding work yesterday, sailor. Carl returned the salute. Muscle memory immediate. Thank you, sir. I researched your service record. EOD Team 3, Iraq deployment. You boys cleared some serious ordnance. Team effort, sir. We all did our jobs. More than that, mission reports show Petty Officer Williams repeatedly volunteered for the most dangerous assignments, clearing IEDs from civilian areas, saving countless Iraqi and American lives. Carl shifted uncomfortably. The war's over, Captain. The EOD mission never ends, sailor. Different bombs to defuse. Poverty, desperation, hopelessness. What you did yesterday, defusing a human crisis without violence. That's EOD mindset applied to civilian life. Word spread in the military community. Navy veterans especially started riding Route 47 specifically to meet Carl. A young sailor from the nearby base, struggling with transition, took Carl's bus after a therapy appointment. Mr. Williams, I heard you served, having a tough time adjusting to civilian life. Carl looked in the mirror at the young sailor, recognized the pain in his eyes. What's your rate, son? Machinist mate. Just got out last month. Don't know what to do with myself. Carl drove carefully, talking during quiet stretches. Son, the hardest part isn't leaving the Navy. It's finding a new way to serve. But civilian jobs seem meaningless after the military. Nothing's meaningless if you're helping people. I drive a bus. Seems simple. But every day, I get elderly to doctor appointments, students to school, workers to jobs that support families. Carl stopped at a red light, turned slightly. Military taught us mission first. People always. That doesn't change in the civilian world. Just find a different mission. But you were EOD, elite unit. How do you go from bomb disposal to this? Carl smiled slightly. Son, in EOD, we defused bombs to save lives. Here, I defuse traffic, route passengers safely, prevent accidents. Different tools, same purpose, protecting people. The young sailor nodded thoughtfully. Never considered it that way. Find your bus route, sailor. Find a way to keep serving. 6 months later, Metro Transit organized a special ceremony for Carl. 35 years of service, exemplary record, recent heroic actions. The city mayor, police chief, Navy veterans attended. Carl wore his dress uniform for the first time in decades. Navy dress blues with EOD badge, service ribbons, decorations. I wasn't expecting this, Carl began, uncomfortable at the microphone. He looked out at the audience, fellow drivers, regular passengers, veterans, city officials. People ask about the connection between Navy EOD and bus driving. They think it's a strange transition. They're wrong. Carl paused, gathering his thoughts. In the Navy, my job was making dangerous things safe. Here, My job is making dangerous streets safe for passengers. In EOD, I worked with precision under pressure. Driving a bus requires the same skills: precision, pressure, protecting people. He looked at the young veterans in the audience. For sailors leaving service, your skills transfer to the civilian world. Attention to detail, responsibility for others, mission-first mindset. These are needed everywhere. Carl held up his EOD badge. This badge represents a commitment to saving lives through courage and skill. That commitment doesn't end with discharge. A young veteran in the audience asked, "What's your advice for finding purpose after the Navy?" Carl smiled. Find your route. Find a way to serve others using the skills the Navy gave you. Might be driving, might be teaching, might be building. Purpose isn't in the job title. It's in the commitment to service. 1 year later, Carl still drove Route 47. Now, 72, he still arrived early, still treated every passenger like family. But the route had evolved. Military families specifically requested Carl's bus. Veterans struggling with transition sought his advice. Children drew pictures for Uncle Carl the hero. Metro Transit created a veteran driver recruitment program, inspired by Carl's example. He showed us that service continues after the uniform, explained new veteran driver Maria Santos. It just changes form. Carl's bus now displayed a small Navy flag, EOD decal, thank you cards from passengers. Same professional service, same caring attitude. The local high school invited Carl to speak about service and community. He reluctantly agreed. "Mr. Williams, what makes someone a hero?" Carl considered while adjusting his rearview mirror. Heroes don't do extraordinary things. They do ordinary things with extraordinary commitment. Getting up every day, doing your job well, treating people with respect. That's heroism. But you disarmed an attacker, saved passengers? I protected people who trust me with their safety. Same thing I do every day, just a different situation. A young student asked, "Would you do it again?" Carl's expression grew serious. "Son, anytime someone threatens people under my protection, whatever training I have comes out. That's not heroism. That's responsibility." His shift ending, Carl returned to the depot. Tomorrow was Friday, weekend routes, different passengers needing safe transportation. A fellow driver approached him. "Carl, ready to retire yet? You've earned it." Carl smiled, hanging up his uniform jacket next to the old Navy photo. "Mike, these streets need safe drivers. These people need reliable service. Why would I retire from that?" Carl drove home in his personal car. Same careful attention as with the bus. Tomorrow, Route 47 would run on schedule. Passengers would arrive safely. The community would be served. Navy EOD veteran, public servant, community protector, still answering the call to serve. Same mission, different route. Initial success or total failure. And Carl chose success every single day. The end.